Ladies and gentlemen, the University of Miami has been tax exempt since 1943. It's been 80 years that this institution has not paid a single dime in federal taxes. And of course, Florida does not collect state tax. So there's absolutely no state taxes in Florida. So zero taxes and federal taxes from this institution. If anything, back in 2011, the University of Miami reported an annual revenue of $2.7 billion. Fast forward to 2020, COVID time, they reported an income of $4.24 billion. So this is what I mean by when I speak about institutional racism and power, right? As individuals, we are not able to get away with not paying a single dime in our taxes. We cannot evade not a single penny in our taxes. But this institution, if anything, every single year, the University of Miami receives tens of millions of dollars in loyalty. Loyalty is basically donation from alumni, doctors and surgeons and dentists and lawyers, people that are so grateful for receiving their degree from the institution, and they pledge to give their money, and every year they send their money to the university. So year after year, the university receives 10 million, 12 million. You could see the numbers here. And then this is how they're able to afford all the expensive legal battles that they engage themselves into. This is how they pay all these fancy attorneys. This is how the system continues. In fact, since my demise, I reached out to the mayor of Miami and wrote her a letter explaining everything that happened to me. I also learned about that she is an alumni from UM. And of course, she washed her hands. She didn't do anything. She's wasn't interested. What this means is that powerful institutions such as UM can do campaign contributions to these mayors and these city elected officials, and to help them get through their campaigns to be elected. And once they're elected, then they end up turning around and then just ignore any complaints or any malicious acts that this institution commits. First, she's an alumni, and I can't specifically say that they have donated to her campaign, but I'm speaking in general how powerful institutions influence elected officials, and these officials eventually turn they just give you the runaround, or call the Florida bar, and then they'll take it from there, even though they have the power to inquire as to what happened to you. They're not going to touch it. So it's important to see how the harm can continue on vulnerable people. People who make 60, 80, $90,000 a year pay half of that in taxes. And then you have an institution like this making $4.2 billion during COVID. Every year the tuition increases, right? In a period of a decade from 2011 to 2020, they have a 30-40% increase in their reported revenue. They pay no taxes. They get 12-13 million dollars from just free money donation from their alumni. And then they turn around and hire expensive lawyers to perpetuate this power that they have, to protect them in the courtroom, to lie, to manipulate judges, and to lie on their behalf. So This is why we have to get involved with policies. We have to get involved with elected officials. This is why, here's another good example. The Board of Nursing. It is the board's policy. The board accepts complaints from patients. So as a nurse, if if you hurt a patient, they can then turn around and submit a complaint on your license, and the board will take action against you to protect this patient. So you're a licensed provider, you do something wrong to a patient, the patient can complain and you could even lose your license. But what happens when a professor, also a licensed provider, is hurting innocent students? You could do something so horrible to a student that caused them to go down a very dark path. But then there's no policy to discipline this professor, discriminating, causing great harm to the public. Whether I'm a patient or I'm a student, I'm still a member of the public being abused by someone with a license. So this is the thing. The people that are hurting us are minorities, of the vulnerable group from the population. They know the loopholes. They know the flaws in these laws, right? These cowards, they take advantage of these loopholes. This is why my plan is to, once I have a following from social media that's big enough, I want to send out a signature letter, to see if I could collect the signatures of all my followers, to then turn around and ask the Board of Nursing to change their policy. We have to understand policy. Once the only way to stop abusive professors from discriminating and hurting Black people is to change the policy at the source, change the policy at the Board of Nursing. Someone committing discriminatory act on students should be just as reliable as a nurse who malpracticed and hurt an innocent patient in their care. So this is a loophole that allows really narcissist people, people with very ill intent, to hurt innocent, vulnerable students. So the only way to really get justice, if we talk about institutional racism and having a level playing field for all of us to play, to have really justice, is to really go at the core, at the policy. The enemy, the perpetrators, they know the policy more than we do. This is why Dr. Gonzalez was so nonchalant and casual and saying, yeah, reach out to such and start your appeal, when he knows he's in control of the appeal. When he knows he can lie to the people above him, he can persuade them, and the appeal process will take 3 months. And then that's going to be, by the time, the minute they dismiss you, they remove you from the class. It takes 3 months to go through the appeal. You lost most of the class. Then even when you're successful, you can't finish that semester. And then that class is not given until the following year. They understand all of that. They understand all of that. And that's if you win the appeal. So this is the issue with policies, from the law of the states in the country and to the policy of the institution. There's so many loopholes that are left that these individuals take advantage of. We must understand that.